All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is nice to see so many people here. I'm glad everyone's here. So today we're going to talk about something that every single person faces when they start Medicare. I call it the Medicare fork in the road. So once you decide when you're starting Medicare, whether that's at 65 or later on when you're leaving your employer group plan, you come to a moment where you have to choose how your health care is going to work. There's two paths, two very different experiences. So if you're approaching Medicare, or maybe you're helping a friend or a family member figure this all out, type road in the comments. So if we haven't met yet, I'm Casey Album. I help people navigate Medicare and design a strategy that fits their life today as well as for years down the road. Many of my clients refer to me as their Medicare co-pilot, partly because I fly, but more importantly because I'm sitting right next to you, helping you guide you through your Medicare decisions. I'm with you not just for today, but for the long term. Think of Medicare as like a flight plan. I'm here to help you plan it, but I'm also in the right seat right next to you, helping you avoid turbulence and bad weather along your journey. And the reason I'm the co-pilot is because it's not my journey, it's your journey. So today we're going to break down what that fork in the road looks like. And we're going to look at the two directions people can go. One of them is what we call network-based managed care, also known as Medicare Advantage. The other is freedom-based Medicare coverage, which is Medicare with a supplemental plan. Both can work, but they work very differently. And understanding the trade-offs is very important before you choose. So if you've ever wondered what the real difference is, type me in the comments. One direction you can take is what's called network-based managed care, also known as Medicare Advantage. Now, if you're familiar with John Oliver, he had a recent episode on his HBO show where he spent about 30 minutes talking just about Medicare Advantage. And he would tell you that Medicare Advantage shouldn't even be called Medicare because what happens? Well, it's network-based managed care. It's a plan that you essentially opt out of the Medicare system. You opt out of original Medicare, and Medicare pays a private insurance company through an HMO or a PPO to manage your health care. So you've probably seen the ads. You've seen Kelsey Grammer or Joe Namath. Zero premiums, extra benefits, dental, vision, gym memberships, all of that stuff. Now, for some people, these plans can work out quite well, but they come with structure. And usually what that means is you've got provider networks. You can only see doctors who take the plan and are within the network. And guess what? The doctors and hospitals, they can leave the plan at any time during the year, but you're only allowed to leave during one of the two designated enrollment periods. If you want to see a specialist, a lot of times you're going to need referrals, and you're almost always going to need to receive prior approval for treatment. That's when the insurance company has to give the doctor or the provider permission prior to that test or procedure. They get to decide whether they think it's medically necessary and whether they're going to pay for it or not. And they can say no. It happens more often than you might realize. Sometimes the networks change. A good example here in Florida recently, MD Anderson, big cancer center. Lots of people in Florida go there. They're now out of network with some major insurance companies like Aetna and now most recently Humana. So network care is the first road. And the other thing about network care is, although they've got those zero premiums up front, those are what we call pay-as-you-go plans. So they're not free. It doesn't eliminate your healthcare costs. It just changes the structure and when they occur. So for some people, that trade-off can make a lot of sense. The other option, kind of the road to the right, if you will, that's freedom-based Medicare coverage. So this is the most simple to explain because this is original Medicare paired with a Medicare supplement plan, also called Medigap. So original Medicare is the primary insurance. The Medigap fits right in there and covers the gaps. And between the two, you have all of your out-of-pocket costs essentially covered. This is the ultimate in freedom-based coverage because with this approach, you can see any doctor nationwide who accepts Medicare. There are no referrals. There are very few prior approvals, and you have very, very limited out-of-pocket costs. You will have a premium, but in exchange, you're going to have very, very limited out-of-pocket costs. It's simply a different philosophy of care than a network-based plan. And while Medigap plans are standardized, there's 10 different plans, 3 that make sense. I know the parts of Medicare all have letters, so do the different plans, which can be confusing. But let's focus on plans. So every lettered plan, regardless of the company that's offering it, it's going to offer the exact same benefits. But the companies are not the same. In fact, they can be very, very different. And with rising healthcare costs and medical inflation being high, it's more important now than ever, really, to choose companies that focus on premium stability over time versus just being the absolute lowest premium today. Now, stable premiums doesn't mean that rates won't increase. I can guarantee you that they will. But companies that manage their business for stability, even if they have a year where maybe they have an adverse increase, they almost always tend to return to their historical pattern after one of those years. And stable premiums doesn't mean they just go up the same time. It means that they're going to ebb and flow. But the company that is more stable over time, their average premium increase is going to be significantly less than a company that uses what I like to call high-low pricing or teaser rates. Those are companies that start out really cheap and then they aggressively raise rates later. Now, one thing a lot of people don't realize with a Medicare supplement is you have a limited window of time when you first activate your Part B coverage where you can get a Medicare supplement and not have to answer any health questions. It's 6 months from the date that your Part B coverage starts. Now, a lot of companies will let you sign up before your Part B coverage starts and just have it start on the Part B date. It's always a good idea to do because you have everything lined up and ready to go. But there are companies that their strategy is to be the cheapest price when somebody first signs up because they know that. And then what do? They start raising rates aggressively years later. And if you're someone that's had some claims that might make you uninsurable, it becomes difficult or almost impossible to switch at that point. So with Medigap, the focus should be on value and long-term stability, not just the lowest price today. So if you believe your healthcare decision should be based on value, type value in the comments. And this is a great example of where you can fly blind or you can have a trusted guide or a co-pilot along with you, right? And think about it. If you're flying, if you're not a licensed pilot, you're probably just not going to try to get in the cockpit and fly. Well, the same thing happens when it comes to Medicare. Having a trusted guide can be super helpful because that fork in the road can be confusing. A lot of people try to navigate it, and sometimes they do it because they navigate based on mail advertisements that they get or TV commercials or some random person that they talk to at a 1-800 number that they're never going to hear from again. A lot of the TV commercials and the mail that you'll get, it sounds official. It uses the word Medicare, so people take that as credible. But those are marketing messages. Those are marketing messages that are designed to sell you a plan. It's not really educating you on the Medicare system. And those sources, well, they don't know anything about you and your situation. Medicare is not one size fits all. Everybody's Medicare situation is different. And just because your neighbor or your friend thinks a certain plan or a certain type of coverage is the right one, while that might be great for them, that's not necessarily going to apply for you. And that's where having a guide, someone who can take the time to get to know you and understand what your goals are in retirement, your doctors, your travel habits, your long-term plans, and how you want to protect your retirement income. Well, that's where working with a trusted guide really matters. Someone who can help you see things that aren't obvious when you're trying to figure out alone. And by the way, having a guide can also be helpful if you're the type of person that does it yourself and you've got it all figured out. A trusted guide is going to point out to you that you are on the right path so that you don't end up changing course when you don't need to. Here's something else many people don't realize. You're never going to pay more for using an independent agent. Our compensation doesn't come from you. You don't pay us a fee for our services. We get paid by the different insurance companies that we represent. The premium is going to be the same whether you do it yourself, work with us, or call that 1-800 number somewhere. So it's not going to cost you any more, but not using a guide can absolutely cost you more if you choose the wrong structure or the wrong company. So if having somebody walk you through this fork in the road sounds helpful, type guide in the comments. So if you're at the point where you'd like help thinking through your Medicare options, my team and I, your Medicare flight crew, if you will, we'd be honored to help you. Just go to medicarequotes.com/Facebook, and you can schedule an appointment, or you can leave your name, number, and email, and we'll get back to you to set it up. You can also call the office directly, 954-970-4760. Yes, we're in Florida, but we help people all throughout the country. But call the office. Liz or Christine will get you on the calendar, and we'll be glad to work with you. Or I'll make it easy. Just comment info, and I'll reach out to you personally. So here are a few questions that people ask all the time. And Sheila had a comment, and yes, Sheila, I am licensed in California. So one question people ask is, isn't Medicare Advantage essentially the same as Medicare? And that's a misconception people have, because all those commercials on TV use the word Medicare, but no, it's not. It's a network-based alternative that's offered by private insurance companies. When you sign up for Medicare Advantage, you opt out of Medicare. They get paid by a private insurance company to manage your care. So it's the plan's rules and not the Medicare rules that apply at that point. Is Medigap always more expensive? That's a common misconception because of the fact that Advantage plans typically have a zero or low monthly premium, and Medigap plans will have a little higher premium. But no, Medigap is typically not more expensive, not if you look at it long term. Medigap is going to provide you with much more predictable long-term costs, and in almost every case that I see, the annual premium on a Medigap plan is almost always significantly less than the maximum out of pocket on most Medicare Advantage plans. Can I switch from Advantage to Medigap later? Yes, sometimes you can. There's 2 periods of the year where you can make that switch. You have the annual election period each fall, October 15th through December 7th. And then you have a lesser known period called the open enrollment period for Medicare Advantage, January 1st through March 31st, where during that second period, you can make a one-time change. You can either change Advantage plans, or you can go back into original Medicare and get a supplement plan. But here's the thing. If you're outside of that 6-month window from activating your Part B coverage, health underwriting might apply. And in some cases, if you've had some health issues, you may not be able to get one of these plans. That's why the best time to do it is when you first start Medicare. The best time to do it is right now if you're still healthy and you can answer the company's health underwriting questions. Why do some Medigap plans cost more than others? Well, that's usually because of how the company manages their premiums over time. I mentioned that earlier, but some companies deliberately price below what it costs them in that first year, knowing that they're going to raise premiums significantly to be able to catch up later. And other companies just aren't as aggressive in how they manage their business, their claims loss, and their other expenses. So just to stay on top of things, they have to take larger premium increases on a regular basis. One of the things that we look at as an independent agent is, first approach I'm going to take is, I'm going to help you figure out what plan is the right plan for you, whether that's a G plan, an N plan, a high deductible plan. And then once we've got that figured out, then we're going to go and we're going to look and see which insurance company is the best company to get that plan for you from in your state. And then one of the things we're going to look at, and being independent, the nice thing about that is we can work with multiple companies, but we also get to choose the ones that we work with and the ones that we don't. And our focus is on companies that provide great customer service. We look at companies and we work with companies that not only provide good service, but we want them to have US-based customer service with people that are actually employees of the company. And I think that's important. We look at companies that have strong financial ratings, the way they're rated with AM Best and Standard & Poor's. And we also look for companies that have been writing Medicare supplements for at least 5 years. Over the last few years, we've seen a lot of new companies, big name companies, by the way, that maybe you recognize them from other types of insurance, maybe property and casualty, for example. Well, they've dabbled in Medicare supplement. A lot of them have ended up pulling out because they don't understand the business or they weren't able to make it profitable. They were testing it. And what does that mean for you as a policyholder? Well, that creates some disruption for you because you've either got to go out and choose a new plan, or that book of business gets sold to somebody else, and while it's the same letter plan, it's sold to somebody else that might manage their book of business differently. So we look at companies that have been in business at least 5 years. And then the big one is premium stability. And we want to work with companies that have a history of managing their business towards stable premiums over time, and companies that really focus on keeping their loss ratios reasonable, typically below 80-85% is kind of what we look for. So all of those things are going to impact what Medicare supplement premiums cost. And a good agent is going to be able to help you navigate that and find the company that's going to give you the best balance of today's premium versus long-term premium stability over time. So when Medicare begins, everyone reaches that fork in the road. You can go to the right or you can go to the left. And of course, the one path that a lot of people look at because they see it advertised is network-based care. But the other, the road not traveled, as Robert Frost might say, is freedom-based coverage. And for most of the people that we work with, and I really think for almost all seniors, freedom-based coverage is really the way to go, because Advantage plans are kind of a year-to-year proposition, whereas freedom-based coverage is permanent coverage. You know that as long as you make your premium payments, your coverage is going to stay the same, your benefits are going to stay the same. It can't be canceled just because you've had some claims. So for most seniors, that's the path that I recommend. And understanding the difference can really can really shape your healthcare experience for years to come. Remember, when you enroll at age 65 or when you first start Medicare, you're not just signing up for your plan for the next year. The decision that you make when you start Medicare, that's going to impact your retirement for years to come. So having someone guide you through that and find a plan that's going to be just right for you is super important. So again, if you'd like help, my team and I are ready, willing, and able to walk you through it. MedicareQuotes.com/Facebook if you want to book an appointment. 954-970-4760 if you want to call and have Liz or Christine get you on the calendar, or just type info in the comments and I will be glad to connect with you. Thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I'll be back next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for next week's Medicare Live. Have a great day, everybody.